Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today we're talking about content is king, and it's fantastic to have so many people registering for this webinar, probably one of our most popular ones in recent times, so I wonder why that is. It's quite an obscure topic in a way. It's not something that's particularly tangible, and yet it's fundamental to the success of your online marketing. It's also something that veterinarians have access to, which is good content. And the last point is that it's often difficult for veterinary practices to understand or to produce their own content. So we're going to cover all that today. Now, let's see, it's 12:01. We've got tons of people joining us. Thank you very much, everyone. Lots of new people today. So just a little bit of housekeeping. On your Zoom service, you'll see there's a chat icon. You can please leave messages. In fact, if someone could just type a note in saying they can hear okay and they can see okay, you should be able to do both. We are recording today, and so by registering, then you will be automatically sent the recording. Equally, if there's someone else you'd like to hear the recording, you can send them the email that you receive from us, or get them to contact us directly, and we will send them the recording. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. Thanks, Git. That's awesome. And Phil. Beautiful. Yes, thanks for the note about my little wife, little headset. I actually, just a little note on that. These are new, and that's probably my most exciting purchase in recent times. And what's interesting about Apple products is that you talk about them a lot. So, you know, if you compare buying an Apple product to buying other products that have less sort of shine or interest for you, you tend not to talk about them a lot. So these things I found to be particularly useful in lots of new ways. And every time something new happens, I tell someone else about them. So Geert, you gave me that little opportunity just to say how much I like them. Yes, and I try not to lose them. The good thing is, look, they don't fall out. I thought that the problem with the old headsets, which are on a wire or cord, I really couldn't move around with them because they'd fall out. They've got funny shaped ears. I like my ears, but they're funny shaped ears. But these ones, look, doesn't fall out. So it's quite interesting. Don't know how they do it. Yeah, so coming up for now, just after 2 o'clock, what we will finish at 2:30. I like to keep these on time and short, but it's really good for you guys to ask lots of questions. And what I thought I'd start with is a bit of a diagram. I'll talk to that diagram and then show you some examples of content examples that are working really well, and then talk a bit about what we do for people as well. All right, so let's go to my whiteboard over here. Follow me, please. I'm just going to adjust the screen so we can see the whole thing, and I'll stand over here. Now, it was a bit of a challenge getting this right up in the right spot. Beauty. I think everyone can see pretty well there. So this is the overview map of online marketing. And today we're talking about the role that content plays in having good online marketing. So let's just go through the main features. So you've got traffic coming in. So that's people that are searching for a vet clinic or vet clinic services. And primarily that's coming in through Google. Other forms of traffic coming in include, if we put a little arrow in here, social. So that would be mostly Facebook for almost every vet practice in Australia. There's not much other social going on. So the traffic comes in, most of it's what we call organic search. So we'll put organic up here. Organic search, that's where someone is searching for the word vet and Manly or whatever the area is. Then the way they actually come to your clinic is they'll come directly to your website. So that's the first and the oldest and most original form of how people come to you. So they come to the website and then they'll call you, and then you get an appointment made. So that's how we traditionally get business into the practice. Two areas that are growing in terms of traffic generation are Google My Business, which is over here, So that's generating traffic into the website and also directly onto the phone, like that. So Google My Business, to give you an idea of how important that is, Google My Business, for the top performing practices, will generate as many phone calls as their website will. And in the perspective of maybe 3 or 4 years ago, the number one source of phone calls was the website, with Google My Business not even existing as Google My Business, around 3 years ago. But now that's producing as many calls. So with many, many more people using their telephones to ring and find practices, and we're finding that Google My Business is becoming a really important part of that. So we have a content story for Google My Business. We have a content story for the website. And the third area is AdWords. So someone who sees an ad on their phone, and for those of you who saw the recent webinar about mobile phones and being found, I used an example where a search for a vet clinic was obscured on someone's phone by a big ad appearing for a corporate clinic, so that anyone who was looking for a clinic in that particular area couldn't find the local clinic, that they would see the Green Cross clinic, which wasn't actually in that suburb. And so that ad would have been picking up somewhere between 20 to 25% of the traffic that was looking for a vet in that suburb. It's really important. It's more a strategic tool, this. It won't generate as many calls as, say, Google My Business or the website, but it might increase your calls by 10 to 20%. So we have a content story for AdWords as well, and then website. So these three sources are funneling traffic into phone calls and into appointments. And social, so someone on Facebook, for instance, if you set your Facebook up correctly, will come across via a link into your website and then call you. But of course, they can also call you directly from Facebook. All right, so that's our map. Now what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is the principles around good content, and then come back to the map and how it actually impacts on how we do things. So I'll come over here. Any questions about that before we keep going, please? My headsets are still in. No, okay, good. So the principles of good content are that Google has said that they want you to put good content on your website. Now, if I go back one step, and I often repeat this message, we don't understand how Google operates, but we do know that their main objective is to deliver good results for consumers. So for consumers searching for a vet in Manly, they want to give what they think is the best result for that search. And traditionally that's been a clinic website. Now, most vet clinics in Australia have a website. Well, sorry, the clinics that have websites, most of them have not done a lot of work on their content. And for that search, for their local suburb searches we've talked about before, they generally do very well because there's not a lot of competition in that particular suburb. Google can work out pretty clearly that clinics has a website and it's in Manly. So you'll often come up first for that search. But because of the things we talked about, like, AdWords and Google My Business is becoming a lot more competitive. So the screen size is getting smaller. You've got mobile phone screens being the number one way that people find vet clinics. And the competition for those suburbs is getting harder or stronger. So you've got corporates who are advertising that area, and you've got clinics who are generally being more clever with their online marketing. So what this means is that we need to look a little bit more carefully, if you want your websites to perform well, at what Google's actually saying. So when Google says we want, this is the message, we want you to put good quality content on your website that tells your local community about what you do, it's no longer enough to just have your address. And for most veterinary practice websites, that's the only information that the clinic can, that Google can use to determine the types of service you offer in that area. And what that means is that the other content on the websites, and there often is other content, is not descriptive enough for Google to understand that it services a particular area. So let me just go back to the screen again. We'll do a little bit of a drawing about that, and we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this main screen in a minute. So what most practices will do is they'll have, let's say you've got a page of information here, and they might have a list of services. So I'm just going to make a few up here. Let's say snake bite. These would be topics or services: desexing, ultrasound, puppy preschool. Now, of course, these topics wouldn't necessarily appear in a list of services because they're not all services, but we're starting with these headings because they all mean something. So let's say the clinic is in Manly, so it's the Manly Vet. I'm just making this up about the Manly Vet. I don't know what their circumstances are, but this is typical for a lot of practices. I'll have a page like this with services, and they might have a list of things that they cover. Now, when Google's looking at this, when Google's assessing the page, it assesses the page in a way that it tries to understand how a consumer will utilize the screen. And when it looks at snakebite, for instance, it might have some really good information about snakebite, lots of detail about snakebite. There's no information in there often about the area, the location. So Google then, let's say there are people out here in surrounding areas that are searching for snakebite, say in Mossman, for instance. If they're searching for that, Google won't put them in touch with this clinic because it doesn't understand that Manly is servicing snakebite cases in the Mossman area. So if you then add the area, so Mossman, and you might use a good example that you might use a case study. Suddenly, when this person is searching for snakebite in Mossman through Google, Google goes, "Oh yeah, I found someone for you. It's the Manly Vet." So the point here is that, first of all, when you're putting content on your website, Google said we want to have good quality content that lets your community understand what you do. You need to talk about, if snakebite is an issue, you need to talk about how it's relevant to the Mossman or the Manly area. So a really good way to do that is to run case studies which are real. And the reason I talk about being real is that there is a whole industry out there of doing this false SEO. This is called SEO, which is where you optimize your search. And false SEO will be to make up stories and also have what we call backlinks linking into here from other articles or other websites in order to make Google think that lots of people are coming here to look for this information. You don't need to do any of that. In fact, if you do it, you run a risk of being penalized by Google. What's really good is if you can actually write an article that talks about snakebite in the Mossman area, and you write it in a way that you would write normally. You're not trying to fake it. If you try and fake it, you're at risk of, at best, not having any results. But so a way of faking it might be you list all these suburbs, suburb X, Y, Z, all the way down. Now, if you do that, Google's particularly clever. We don't know how they work, how they operate it, but they'll pick up the fact that you're trying to scam the system. So I encourage you to write something that's real. So you might have had a couple of snakebite cases one in Mossman and one in Manly, and you write about those, have some pictures, and you put some good detail in there. So that's the first thing about that. The second point I wanted to make was that if you have a list of services like this on your page and you're running, say, AdWords, for instance, and you just have a big list like this, you will have a very inefficient result, which means you'll pay a lot of money for your ads. So let me just describe that a bit more. So this person here is searching for snakebite in Mossman, and they've come in through Google. If, for instance, they're searching with they find an ad So let's say there's an ad out here for snake bite. Snake bite. Snake bite's not a good example. People wouldn't be searching so much on an ad for that. Let's say, change that to, oh yeah, puppy preschool. Mossman. Let's say they're searching for puppy preschool Mossman and they come to an ad that you're running. This is, you'd be running this ad through AdWords. And then that ad takes the person straight to this page, which has a long list of stuff. Do you think it's easy? Well, it's not easy for a consumer to find that puppy preschool word in a page full of service listings like this. And most practices will have a page like this. And so as a result of that, you get penalized by Google. So the ad cost will be high. However, if you have a separate page, this is called a landing page for puppy preschool. So let's say we have another page over here. For puppy preschool there. And instead of, when someone's searching for puppies preschool, the ad here doesn't take them to the main page, it takes them to the special page. Then from a consumer point of view, you're giving the person a lot more what they want than what you want. So instead of you thinking, oh, a big list of services is good because it shows all the things we do, that person's only interested in puppy preschool. So let's give them a page of information about puppy training. If you do that, you'll find the cost of these ads drops, and sometimes up to 50%, which is amazing because it means you can double your reach or halve your cost, whichever way you want to look at it, just by organizing your content properly. So you can see from this sort of Bill Leak type, not Bill Leak, Bruce Petty cartoon style of drawing, there's a lot of interactions between the tools that are available, but they and often influenced by the type of content you got on your page. Now let's come back to any questions about that? Surely there's a question, like I'm just not making sense, or like my earbuds. And by the way, these questions are, no one else can see them, guys. So you can, I don't mind if you ask what you think is a silly question. It would be actually quite good to get them. All right. Okay. So is there anyone out there who is putting content on their website on a regular basis? That's something you can respond to, even if you say no. I'd like to know. Okay. Good. So this is very relevant to you guys because this is something you certainly want to consider doing. All right, so let's go back to the main page, and I'm just going to talk from here. I'm going to talk about where the content goes and how you manage it. So the biggest point of difference for you on the web, where Google understands most about you and you've got the opportunity to talk most about you and make it clear to Google who you are, is your website. So on your website, what we encourage you to do is to regularly put on good quality content that helps Google understand what you do for your local community. So for example, we talked about snakebite, for instance. So what you might do is one month you might have an article, let's write it over here, about snakebite. Now, you'd choose snakebite. Snakebite's a bit of an obscure one. You would choose that if there was a problem with snakebite in your area and you had a couple of cases, maybe even if you had a couple of cases last year and it was coming up for snakebite period again. What you do, you write about snakebite. So you as a group of people are very good at writing about the technical elements of snakebite. You write about that, but you also need to write about cases in your area or how it affects your area. So you might talk about a couple of areas. So 2 to 3 suburbs where you've got real examples of cases happening. Now, having that on your website does a lot. So we touched on this on the page a little bit before, but if there's someone out there in your surrounding areas, probably in these suburbs, looking for information on snakebite, so they're not looking for you, they're looking for snakebite issues, then it's likely that through organic search, which is where people type in dog snakebite, Mossman, Google will direct them to you. Now, that is significant because before you do this, there's a very good chance that Google's got nothing in the local area to give them. So it will go to places like the AVA or go to the United States for a pet website that has information on snakebite that's not even relevant. So you can imagine that Google's looking for local information. It just doesn't have it because the clinics haven't provided it. Now, in the cases where we provide content for practices, we've found that it makes a huge difference, like 100% difference straight away to their search results if the content's written correctly, meaning they suddenly become visible. So you put your once a month good quality article onto the page here. The great thing about it is it doesn't disappear because Google indexes what's on your website, meaning it has value ongoing. So you can plan out a 12-month content schedule, which we recommend for all our practices, and we provide a content schedule for clinics who are using our content service or our email newsletter service. And you can say, in next month, we're going to be doing heart disease. The month after that, we're going to be doing diabetes, blah, blah, blah. Each time you do it, you put the article on your website. The good news about that is you can then take the content from here and you can take pieces of it and you can put it into your social media. And I'm going to show you some examples in it. Social media here. And then you can link it back to the website so that when people see the article or the post, they can come back to your website and they're more inclined to call you or learn more about you. Also, if you are targeting particular things, let's say puppy training, for instance, is a big one, you might want to run some AdWords that bring you into that page that has the AdWords. So once again, content, Google My Business. Google My Business is an interesting one because it's changing all the time. And wherever possible, we encourage you to put in there information about your services, and that will help, particularly if you have similar content on your website, for Google to understand the connection between the two. All right. Now, moving on to some examples in the last few minutes. I'm going to change screens for a minute, and then I'm going to share my screen with you. Just bear with me. All right. So let's go to, I'm going to share screen. All right, now we should be able to see. I'll just start with, just bear with me for a moment. All right, I'm going to start with Caroline Springs. Here we go. Let's go to full screen so you can see. Beauty. Okay, so now you should be able to see this right now. Caroline Springs, do you have a senior pet at home? So this Facebook page post has come out of an article that we posted on their website about this topic. So it's important to understand that it links back to their website. Now, there's a couple of key stats here. This has reached 466 people, which is really high. That's organic reach for this clinic. So it's a really highly rated article. And you can see the clinic can then go and boost the article if they want to. Just changing power sources here. Okay. And then of this, 24 people click the link to take them back to the website, which is where they'll actually learn more about the service that the clinic's offering, and they've got a high chance of calling the clinic then. So it's, that's a click rate of about 5%, which is pretty good. So what you're doing is that, so the benefit of that is if you just posted this on Facebook, it would be gone in a flash. Those 466 people would see it, but then it's gone. Whereas if you have it on the website, people in the surrounding areas who are searching for these sorts of services are much more likely to find the clinic. Plus, some of those people from Facebook have gone in to read more about it on the website. And then also what we'll do is add a chunk of this material onto the clinic newsletter and send that as well. All right, so let's go out to the next one. Just bear with me for a moment. Okay. So here's another one. Can you see that, Arimba Vet Hospital? So in this one, they're not referring to their local area. It's just a general toxicity warning. But the interesting thing here is that this content was considered as, first of all, it's been boosted, so it reached a lot of people. That means they paid money to boost it. But they got a lot of responses back from their clients or from their community. The click-through rate was low to the home page, but that's fine because you know, most of the information is held in this article itself. And then I'll show you the next one. This is an interesting one from a practice in Queensland, and it's a real story. So this is where your cruciate ligament of the case studies work really well. It's been shared on Facebook twice. And it reached 390 people, which is once again really high. They didn't pay to do that. And 18 people clicked through to the website to get more information. And once again, that information is sitting on their website as well. So, and I'll show you some examples now of how that is. I can just bring it up now. A couple of examples of how they put this information into their newsletters as well. All right, so this is Caroline Springs. There you go. So there's 7 ways to help your arthritic pet at home, and that's going through to their blog, which is where their central bit of data is sitting. And let's move this out of the way. Oh, so I've got the wrong one. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's all right. Anyway, you get the idea. That's Caroline Springs. Okay, so now what I want to show you, and the last bit is the service that we provide to practice. So with practices, if you want to utilize the Pet Pack service for content management, what we do is we provide an article once a month to the practice. Here's an example. So we've got, it's really like the examples we've shown you before. You get a blog article, which will then also create Facebook posts from. So for practices that see the value in adding content to their website but struggle to do it, then we have this service, and it's particularly successful for those clinics that use it. And there's a nice little diagram here which reiterates what I was talking about with regards to your content. And so to summarize, I suppose the reason why content is king and why the AVA is spending a lot of money on their own content generation is because it's the main distinguisher that you can put on to your web that's going to help you generate more visibility in your community and help more people find you. And, you know, I think it's certainly valuable to spend money on ads, because that will increase your calls by 10 to 20%. And it's important to have your Google My Business set up properly to make those things work better, you've got to have good quality content that sits across your website, across your AdWords and your Google My Business and on Facebook as well. And in order to do that, you need a coordinated approach where you have some resources put into content. So if you're going to do it yourself, you probably want to spend an hour a month and coordinate it across this diagram that I've got here, across your website, newsletter, and Facebook. And then if you are running AdWords and Google My Business, you want to make sure they're set up correctly to reflect that. Or equally, you get someone else to do it like ourselves. But the long-term benefits are strong, really strong. That work you do now is not lost. It's with your website for a long time. All right, guys, that's it for me. Let me take you back to our main screen. And a couple of questions there, which I will answer briefly. And everyone else, goodbye. Thank you very much if you'd like to go. Now, Josh, you're asking a question about boosting. I'm not quite sure what that is referring to, but we can talk about that more. I suppose the question is, are you talking about boosting by buying ads, or boosting a Facebook post? Yeah, so that's a good question, Josh. Is Facebook post boosting of any value to vet clinics because does it just go outside your catchment area? It certainly will go outside your catchment area, but you can limit that geographic area considerably. So the answer is yes, it's done properly. And Tony asked, where did we find the click-through rate on those examples? And that is based on tracking every time someone clicks on the link and brings the person back to the website in the analytics. That's where you get that number from. All right, guys, thank you very much. And thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of the day. All right, see you. Thanks. Bye.